Hola, mi amigos, ¿cómo está? Yeah. So I'm late. I am definitely late. It is 4:20 already. I'm normally on by 4 o'clock. And why? What good reason do I have for being late? What amazing reason to. I just literally woke up. I did. I woke up at 4:13. I am on in 8 minutes from waking up going, uh-oh, to let's go. And I should have set an alarm. I didn't think I needed to set an alarm. I did not have a good night's sleep last night. It was probably 3 o'clock before I got to sleep, and then uh, the cat named Orange Bee, uh, he's my step cat. He just kept making noise last night. Kept waking me up and waking me up and waking me up and waking me up, and yeah, suddenly it was. I laid down about 12:30, thinking I'm just going to sleep a little. And then I woke up at about 2:30. I went, well, I'll just sleep a little bit more. And then suddenly it was 4:15, 4:13. Yeah. So my apologies. I am sorry I am late. I will not let it happen. Well, I probably will let it happen again. I'm human. But I will try not to let it happen again. So, yes. What was I doing today? What I was doing when I was working, I was writing. I got a good chunk of writing done on Chaos Game. I've had a little problem getting my head back into that, getting back into the game. Not any particular reason. It's a very unique book. It's a bit chaotic too, which is supposed to be, being the book's called Chaos Game. But there's some big stuff going on in the book, and I was so focused on building up to the first big thing, and then there's the second big thing, and then there's the rest of the book. So Act 1 builds to one big event, Act 2 builds to a second big event, and then Act 3 will wrap up the book. The problem is I was so focused on building up to the first event that I didn't really realize I needed to deal with the ramifications of the first event before I could build up to the second event. So that's what's been kind of throwing me off, is just, yeah, that's a little too bright, ain't it? Let's try this setting. No, how about this one? No, how about this one? That's a little better. There we go. It was a little bit too aggressively bright there. All right. So, yeah. So I was working on a Chaos Game, Lucius Fogg, Jimmy Doyle. And it was a very human scene. It's a very... When I write, I try to do something unique. I've got my scenes that move the story forward, your action scenes, your action chapters. But then I've got your... What's a good way to put it? I don't want to say character, but yeah, it's your character chapters, but your grounding chapters as well. The fact that this is an urban fantasy book, it's a story about an ex-soldier who gets pulled into a world full of magic and the supernatural. I feel that sometimes we need to have a very realistic set of chapters, or not constantly, but every time I do something really out there, I feel I need to ground it as well. So there needs to be these reality chapters, these chapters of reminding you that Jimmy's a real person, or Jimmy is a person. Jimmy is, how would somebody really react in those situations? So that's what I try to get to. And this is one of those chapters where something important is going to happen. It's going to move this story forward, and it's happening for a reason. But it's also a chance for Jimmy to kind of reflect on the dramatic changes that have taken place. And I've been trying to do it a little bit here and there between action but I think I really need a moment of reflection and acceptance. And that's what I was working on today. So it's, like I said, the 10th chapter, the first end of the first act is really changes a lot. And if you've read the previous 3 Lucius Fogg books, then this is something that will feel like it had been in the works for a long time, but will also be shocking. But then it changes something dramatically, and I've got to move forward with that. And that's what I've been working on. That's the difficulties I've been having. So, and that's not to say that it's hard or something. It's just I think it's in here. So I felt today was a good step forward. So I'm on the 14th chapter. I usually do about 30 chapters. So I'm getting close to the halfway point in the book. Word count wise, we're at about 38,000. I usually do about 75,000. So from that point of view, it's longer than normal, but it's still about it's almost to the halfway point of the book. Because I'm probably going to do about 80,000 words. That's my plan, between 80 and 85,000, which is longer than the other Fogg books. But I think I got a bigger story to tell too. So, and like I said, I kind of want this to be a bit chaotic too. And then I figure the final third is going to pull everything together. That's my hope. So, okay. All right, let's talk about some other stuff. I was thinking about television shows. And it's always the year-end stuff. Now, one of the things I was thinking of doing is doing a show where I actually rate all the Marvel movies that have come out so far, go from worst to best, But that's going to take some time because I don't know what's worst and best. I mean, I have an idea of what is the Marvel movie that I like the least. And there's a handful that I like a lot. And I know my ranking won't be the popular ranking. I'm not necessarily like Civil War is not one of my favorite Marvel movies. Winter Soldier is. It's up there, but I like the Marvels better than most people. I didn't love the Fantastic Four, though. It's kind of growing on me since I watched it. I'm supposed to watch it again with Braden, Lisa's kid, my sort of stepson. He's not, but he is, one of my best friends. Braden is one of my best friends. And we watch a lot of these movies together, and I want to see it through his eyes. What's interesting is I watched the originally, and I did a show on it, and I told everybody I didn't really like it that much. And it's not that I didn't like what they did. I just didn't feel it was a movie. I felt like it didn't tell a whole story. It was like a highlight reel. And I kind of stand by that. But what they did show is kind of growing on me. And there's a guy on line, and I believe his name is Alexander Hefner, something like that. And he does the videos where you watch him watch a show. You watch him watch Superman or Fantastic Four or Peacemaker or the Suicide Squad, and you see him reacting to stuff and him enjoying it. And he's kind of unique in that where I come from a background where I got my first comic when I was 5 years old in 1975, and I've been reading them ever since. And, you know, if anything superhero came on television when I was growing up, I watched it. The bad Captain America TV shows, the Spider-Man with Peter Hammond, the Doctor Strange movie. I mean, I watched it when it aired. Those were my things. That was my jam. Well, he didn't. He's younger. I can't tell exactly how old he is, but he's not that old. He didn't grow up with comics. He doesn't know them like an encyclopedic knowledge of it. So for him, it's all coming kind of new. And he'll watch stuff. He's like, "Oh, wow, that's what we're doing in this unit. So this is this way or that's that way." But and he loved the new Superman movie. He loved Suicide Squad. He just thought that was brilliant. But when he watched the Fantastic Four, it was interesting to watch it from the point of view of somebody who wasn't burdened down by. I don't know if he had even seen the previous movies. I don't know if he had watched any of that or any of the cartoons or read any of the comics or even knew who the Fantastic Four were. I don't think he did. And he watched it with such an open mind because he didn't have anything there, he didn't have anything to set expectations. And when he watched it, he really enjoyed it. And there are times I wish I could watch these things like that, because not only do I have the background and the history with these characters and certain expectations, and it's hard to shut those down, but also I have the knowledge of being a writer and someone who works in and around the industry. So I see things from a storytelling point of view, and it's why certain movies that people love that I just don't love as much, because like The Usual Suspects or The Sixth Sense, because I see what they do to set up the big twists, and I know, I knew that he was, Bruce Willis was dead all along, and I knew who Kaiser Sose was from pretty early in the film. It kind of ruins things, And if you think I'm kidding, the reason I know who Kaiser Sose was, and the Usual Suspects is old enough now that you probably have seen it, but I'm going to spoil it right now. So look away if you haven't seen it and don't want it spoiled. Okay. So in The Usual Suspects, there's a moment where we see Gabriel Byrne's character about to be killed by Kaiser Sose. And Kyler's in shadows and you don't see who he is, but you see him take the gun and move it from one hand to the other very deliberately, aim and fire. And as soon as you see that, in my mind, it tells me something's up with his hand. There's a reason we're supposed to see him switch hands. It's obvious. They spent that moment having that switch over to tell us something. And then a few minutes later, we meet Kevin Spacey's character, and he's got a bad hand, and it's tucked up against his chest. And right there, you're like, there's Kaiser Sose. And because I noticed that, the movie didn't, I mean, it's still it's a good movie, but, when you don't get that big twist, it doesn't put it up on that level anymore. God, I'm still tired. You'd think after sleeping 4 hours, I'd be like, okay, but nope. But so yeah, that's So I really enjoy watching this guy watch the films. And I do that sometimes. I'll watch reaction films or, there was a girl online, and I haven't seen anything from her in a while, but she went by the name of Taffeta Darling, and she was watching all the Marvel television shows. And I would put those on and watch her reactions to them because I thought that was fun. And also, it was a way to kind of rewatch the show without rewatching the show because they never do the whole thing, but you kind of get that again. Sometimes you just want to watch a brief summary of it again. I've really enjoyed Superman, so it's kind of been going on. But yeah, so I'm going to do a Marvel recap or a Marvel best to worst, worst to best. But I'm not sure how quickly I'll do that. Maybe that'll be my end of the year thing. But I've been thinking about television shows lately. And I was thinking, what shows have I watched recently? And I say recently, like within the last couple years, that I would want to sit down and watch again. And I think about this because um, West Wing is one of those shows. I've actually rewatched a lot of West Wing. Sports Night, Aaron Sorkin movies, shows are high on my list. I'm a big fan of West Wing and News Night, but I also really love or Newsroom. I really loved his show Sports Night that he did before any of those. There's one of the episodes is one of my favorite episodes of television ever. Rody reaching before Ed can. Good to see you, Jay. I'm good. Reacher is one of them. Reacher is something that I could watch, but the most recent season of Reacher to me wasn't as good as the earlier Reacher. So I'm hoping that the next one's going to bounce around back. But Reacher wasn't one of the ones that jumped in early on. The Penguin is. I thought what they did with the Penguin was absolutely brilliant. And I realized that was a year and a half ago, or a little over a year ago, but the Penguin was definitely something that I could watch multiple times. Colin Farrell was just brilliant. It was like watching The Sopranos. It really was. Jay, if you haven't watched it, and you say you haven't, it literally is The Sopranos in Gotham City. Is how it felt. Even my brother, who's not a comic guy, I mean, the only comic book movie my brother ever watched, well, there's two that he watched that he liked, and one of them condemns him. He liked Deadpool, which is great. But Deadpool 1, I think, was much more geared towards the average person, where 2 and 3 got much more inside comics. But my brother likes the Green Hornet movie with Seth Rogen, and that is so not the Green Hornet that it's kind of bad. I mean, I always joke that everybody wants to make a good movie, and nobody tries to make a bad movie. So I kind of give them slack, but I don't give slack to Seth Rogen and Green Hornet. That was a crime, and it should be punishable. I mean, he's due at least 6 months in prison for that. Jay says, that's what I hear. No, I should turn, where is it? Show comments on stage. That's what I hear. And that makes me want to carve out more time to watch it and haven't gotten around to it. I highly recommend it. And you definitely want to do it before the Batman 2 comes out because it is integral. It's not like one of those, well, we did a spinoff show. No, this is important. This moves the Penguin character forward, and I don't consider it homework. I don't think anybody who watched the Batman who will go in to watch the second, part 2 will be like, I don't know what happened. but I think it adds so much richness to the character and backstory, and he is so good. The kid that plays Victor is so good. Christine Milioti as Sophia is amazing. Oswald's mother, it's just, it is one of the best series of television I've seen in a long time. And just to put it in perspective, I really enjoyed Peacemaker, and I have watched episodes again. I watched the whole first season twice because Lisa hadn't watched it, and we watched it again before season 2 came out too. But I wouldn't really put Peacemaker on that list. It's a little quirky, and I think some people would, like it, and some people wouldn't. But Penguin, I definitely put on that list. And I was late to the party on the second one that comes to mind. But I don't know anybody who has a bad word to say about this show, and that's Ted Lasso. And I watched it because early in the year, Apple TV did like January of last year or this year, Apple TV did a free weekend. And we crammed all 3 seasons into one weekend. And my God, that show just changed the way I thought about writing, of laying out characters, of telling a story. It really is one of the best things I've ever seen on television. Like historically, like I said, West Wing is up there. Stuff like that. Yeah, it's just, I still see clips of Ted Lasso, and we'll sit down and watch them again, and it will bring so much back because it was that good a show. Another one that really got me, and I was on pins and needles until they announced that a season 2 had been picked up, and which is never guaranteed with Netflix, is Department Q with Matthew Good. That really has been one of the best detective shows I have seen in a very, very long time. Absolutely love that show. It was the first one of those that I ever watched and thought, I'm just going to start over again. I got to the end, and I wanted to just turn on the first episode and watch it again, and watch, all the stuff that I tried to pick up, all the stuff I might have missed. It didn't have any of the fallacies I see in a lot of these kind of detective series where they try to personalize everything. Jason's been a Jason Sudeikis fan for a while, and here he's just excellent in Ted. Okay, if you haven't seen Ted Lasso, wow. They do trials of the show or of Apple TV. I mean, if you don't want to pay for Apple TV, but it is worth paying a month to watch Ted Lasso. Hands down. One of the best shows ever put on television. And it's one of those that you really want to pay attention, because they'll put in little things that, okay, I'm going to go off about Ted Lasso here. First thing, a lot of people don't know that Jason Sudeikis is the nephew of George Wentz from Cheers. Norm? There are so many little moments of honoring of George Wentz and Cheers in the show. There's, and they're throwaway things you don't see. I'm going to give you an example of 2. And when you see this type of detail, this will give you an idea that the show just really has that much depth to it. There's a moment where one of the characters is in a fast food shop, with a kebab shop. And he's having a discussion, and he's one of the soccer players, and his picture is up on the wall. And he says, you know, if you're going to have my picture on the wall, I should get a free kebab. And he's like, nope, still $7.50. He goes, fair enough. But when they show the picture of him on the wall, next to him there's two pictures on either side. On the left of him is a picture of George Wendt, signed picture of George Wendt. On the right is a picture of the lead singer of Mumford & Sons, and that's the guy that did the theme song for Ted Lasso. But it's not like, hey, look here, these are important. They're just in there. But the best thing, the absolute best thing, if you're a fan of Cheers, also a great television show, there's the character of Coach that was on Cheers in the beginning. Then he passed away, and they brought in Woody Harrelson's character. Hey, Slipknot. At the end of when Coach died, there was a picture of Geronimo that he had in his trailer, picture of Geronimo. And they took that picture and they put it in the bar. It was their way of honoring Coach going forward. So in the background of every episode, on the wall in the back part of the bar, so when you'd see the face of the bar and Ted's office is on the back right, there's a little seating area in the far back, and on that wall is this picture of Geronimo. And one of the last things they did in the series as a nod to Coach is they walked over and they straightened the picture of Geronimo. Woody was the pen pal, right? Oh. I can still remember my friends in school wondering why they killed off Coach, and I was like, the actor really died. Yeah. Woody was great in No Country for Old Men. So yeah, they straightened the picture as a nod to Coach, and that's how they ended the series. So the last thing Ted Danson does in the bar, or Sam Malone does in the bar before he leaves. If you watch the final episode of Ted Lasso, there's a bar scene. There's a bar in the town of Wrexham that they go to, not Wrexham, Edmonton. I'm crossing reality, and in the bar they have that same picture of Geronimo, and the bartender straightens that picture at the end of the series. And that was supposed to be the end of the series. They're doing a fourth season, but the third season was supposed to be the end. So that's another nod to Cheers and to his uncle and all that. Penguin never uses the name P. Nguyen. That was that was definitely from the 66 series. They don't even use Cobblepot. What do they use? Cobb? Yeah, they call him Oswald Cobb. But yeah, wow. Ted Lasso is great. There are things like books that Ted gives out in season 1 that have callbacks in season 3. It just, there's so much depth to the writing of Ted Lasso that it's scary. Yeah, I saw that in the Adam West Batman. Yeah, P. Nguyen. So, Penguin, Ted Lasso, Department Q. Department Q is so good. It's one I don't want to tell you too much about, but it really is one of the best character-driven detective series without having to make everything personal. That you sit there going, how the hell are you going to do a second season? Every person this guy knows is either a murderer or dead. It's not like that. And then there was one other show I thought about putting in it, but I'm not sold. I was going to try to come up with 5, and I couldn't. And the fourth one is still iffy. And that's The Residence, which was another Netflix show. It's a murder mystery comedy set in the White House. Great cast. A lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. It's one of those that I stayed up all night binge watching. But it didn't get a season 2. But yeah, Matthew Good is the lead in Department Q. And there's not a lot of actors that you'll recognize in this show. The only other one you might recognize if you're a Game of Thrones fan, and I don't know what the name of the character she played, but the actress, there was a character of an older woman who had a son who was a god-awful son, but not Joffrey, but he was still like breastfeeding at like 15. And there was a throne room that had a pit in the center, and they would throw people out through the pit, and they would fall to their death because it was up on a mountain or something like that. That woman who played the character, she is the captain. Other than that, everybody else is just, yes, Kat Stark's sister. So that actress is in it, but Matthew Good is probably the highest profile name you'll see in it. But it is really one of the strongest detective shows I've seen in a very long time. Thanks, Ed. Yeah, but the thing I never do, remind you guys to hit the thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Again, I apologize for being late to the show today. Just overslept. I just took a nap, and that went really long. But I didn't have football today to keep me awake. And it's not that football wasn't happening. It's just the Panthers play tomorrow night on live TV. And I'm worried about that because as soon as the entire nation is looking at them, they go, ah. So I don't expect them to beat the 49ers tomorrow, but I want them to. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't think I have any more shows that kind of recent shows. You know, MASH was always a huge show for me. West Wing, shows that I absolutely loved. White Collar is a show that I absolutely loved. Yes, that's a Katie Dickey. Just absolutely a great character in that as well. Department Q is the story of a bunch of broken people. If you kind of liked Thunderbolts, this is an odd comparison because everybody that's in Department Q, hey, Mr. Nope, are broken people, just like in Thunderbolts. In Thunderbolts, you watch them and you're all like, wow, these people are just in bad shape. But the fact that they found each other is perfect. They kind of found that is what Department Q is. You know, it's a bunch of, and none of them meant to come together. Matthew Good's character doesn't even want anybody around him. He gets given an assistant who isn't even a cop at that point, but who is probably a better cop than anybody on the force. There's, he gets his old partner come. I mean, it's, I don't want to give too much away, but Department Q is one of those that I plan to sit down and watch again in anticipation of season 2. And I also got the book that it's based on, and I want to read that. I'm behind on books. I have a lot of books, and I have a big one coming up that I'm excited for, but I'm trying to get some other ones done. I'm a big Dan Brown fan, the Robert Langdon character. He's got a new book out that I'm listening to right now called The Secret of Secrets. I'm a few chapters in. It's not clicking for me the way Da Vinci Code did or some of the other books. So I'm hoping this is going to pick up. I've read or listened to a lot of Lee Childs lately. I like to listen to the Reacher book that they're about to adapt, and it doesn't really ruin it for me, but I like it. Yeah, I don't want to go too late and run into Kyle and Jay's show, so I won't be on too much longer. But but the book I've got coming up is the new Jim Butcher Dresden Files book, and hands down, Dresden Files is probably my favorite book series of all time at this point. Which is funny because I didn't know urban fantasy existed. Didn't even know it was a category. And Jim Butcher is probably the best in urban fantasy. But I wrote my Lucius Fogg books, which are kind of also the same genre. And somebody said, "Hey, these read like a Dresden Files book." And I went, "Dresden Files? Wait a minute. Wasn't that TV show on Sci-Fi for a minute?" And they looked at me with daggers because there was a Paul Blackstone did a series on Sci-Fi. It didn't even last a season, and I enjoyed it. It was a fun little show, but it wasn't really what Dresden Files is. So I went, fine, okay, and I got a hold of the first audiobook, and it's read by James Marsters, and I've got a place, Blackthorn, yeah, that's it. I've got a place in my heart for James Marsters because the episode of Metal Hellante Chronicles I wrote, he's the guy that played the main character. There's only two people in the entire series, or the episode was James Marsters and Michelle Ryan. But and then I got to meet James Marsters, and he gushed over that episode I wrote, which was amazing. So right there is James Marsters reading it, but his audiobook reading is him acting. It's a first-person narrative story, so he tells it, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. So I got the first one, the second, and we're like I think this is book 19 coming out. And seriously, if you do audiobooks, start the series. It is the best series on audiobook because of James Marsters. And it's such an amazing universe. And Jim Butcher is so good. And yeah, so I've got that coming up in January too. 12 months is coming out. It's the name of the next Dresden Files book. But okay, I missed a few things. How is your retention of audiobooks, Dan? I feel like it's forgotten many of the books I've listened to, but the ones I physically read are still there for the most part. See, I'm the opposite. And this is something I learned in college, is that people retain knowledge differently. Some people can read something and soak it up like a sponge. Other people are audio listeners. Some are mixed. I'm an audio listener. If I went to a class and the teacher basically told us what we needed to learn, I was great. If it was one of those where he's like, well, we're going to talk about this, but you need to read all these other chapters as well to do well on the test. That's the class that I would have problems in because I listened better. I heard better. So for me, audiobooks are perfect. I retain more. I remember more. Oh, there is no show. Okay, cool. Jay, thanks. But yeah, I like the original IT with Tim Curry. Oh, Stephen King, yeah. But glad you asked. Everyone knows I don't retain anything. They put out Creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D in the early 80s. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the thing is that for me, audio, I retain more from listening than I do from reading. Plus, I have a hard time sitting and focusing as I get older. So being able just to sit down and read a book It's, I need good lighting and I need to have time and stuff, but it's an active thing. With audiobooks, I can sit down and grab one of these models that I'm painting, or grab the blanket I'm crocheting, or if I'm editing photos or something like that, where there's a lot of rote things going on, just manual things, then I can listen to an audiobook and just go through it. Even some things for work, if I'm posting some photos or putting together a mailer or whatever, I can do that while listening to a book and retain all that. But, I can't do that if I'm writing, of course. But yeah, so I can passively listen and get other things done where I don't really have the time to actively read. So let's see. I definitely been able to explore more books with audio, but maybe it's the amount I've consumed. Yeah, see, that's the other thing is I go through, and long drives. Oh my God. That's where I started doing audiobooks when Tone and I would drive to conventions. I would be listening to a book. We'd be listening to a book, and he loved Star Wars books. We'd listen to some of the Star Wars books and stuff while we drove, and it was great. Uh, I love being able to listen to them while doing other things. Yeah, that's exactly, Mr. Nope. Treasures, Four Crowns, Space Hunters, and the Forbidden Amityville 3D. Okay, we have a 3D track. Oh, hey, Andrew, how you doing? Yeah. All right, so Goggins here. Nice. Yeah, so I do a lot of audiobook listening. It's funny the Goggins popped up because it was a mutual friend of ours, Ashley Sims, that pushed for me to really get into Dresden Files. And I had actually picked up one of the books and never got around to reading it. She's the one that sold me on the audiobooks there. But yeah. So, yeah. I feel like I owe you guys a little extra time because I was late. But I didn't really have a show prepared either. I was just kind of winging it today. But yeah, so I'm a big audiobook listener. I do Audible. I have 160 books, I think, in my library. And do any of your novels have audiobooks, Dan? Yes. Yes. The stuff that I did for Dynamite Books, I believe the Vampirella, the Purgatory, and the SEAL Team 6 No More books I did should have audiobooks available. I have a audio reading of the first Lucius Fogg book, but I've never posted it. And I was playing with, they have an AI thing now that that Audible does where you can have AI do an audio reader. And I don't like that idea. But it's better than I thought it would be. And I've been playing with it, not because I'm going to put them out there, because I'd rather have a real actor read it. But I did find that if I let the AI read it, and then I listen to it to edit it, it allows me to catch a lot of the spelling and grammar errors that I wouldn't catch just by looking at it. Again, I'm an audio guy. So I have found so many mistakes in one of the books that I did test it on that I almost feel like I need to redo the manuscript and repost it. But there's a Saturday Hydra hangout every week, Dan. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't want to run into that, but But yeah, so there are some. I have plans to do more. I'm really gonna. That might be one of the options on the Kickstarter for Chaos Game. I really got to plan that out. But first, I want to get the book done and get Jason to do the cover. He's back to drawing again from his shoulder injury, but I got to get Chaos Game done. You know, it's been a year since I first announced I was going to do Obsidian Moon, which just tells me I have been slacking. So, got to get back to that. All right. You know, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. Thursday's Thanksgiving. And I hope you all, if you are in America, you have a terrific Thanksgiving. If you're out of America too, but you can, I just don't know if you celebrate it. So happy Thursday to you. I will be back Sunday, coming up with another topic. Maybe I'll do my top Marvel or the Marvel ranking then. Really depends on if I can get that done. But yeah, we'll have a show next Sunday. Other than that, and I'm going to try to get as much writing done this week as possible. I've got something on the horizon that may slow me down. Got a meeting on Monday. Hopefully that'll pan out. But I'll let you guys know. Did you ever see Freddy's Dead? The rentals. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great holiday. Remember to get ready for Christmas. Maybe I'll do a gift guide coming up, and I will see you all Sunday. And I'll try to be on time, I promise.